Welcome to the Empowered Women Life Leaders podcast. I'm your host, Karen Bashford. This podcast is for every woman who has ever felt limited by her past, silenced by trauma, or held back by society's expectations. Each week, we will share powerful stories, expert insights, and practical tools to help you become the leader of your own life. Today, my guest is Andrew Laws. Andrew actually has on his LinkedIn profile, helping the invisible get noticed. And what I loved about it was he has positive, focus, and mischief. Now, to me, that sounds real fun. So I'm just going to hand over to Andrew because I know our conversation is going to be fun. And I think fun should be part of a business. So, Andrew, welcome.
Well, thank you very much, Karen. Fun should absolutely be a part of business. I've been in business quite a long time. I didn't understand the fun bit at first. I thought you had to be smart, and I thought you had to be properly dressed and speak a certain way. And the first clue I'd got this very wrong was I went to visit a client in London, and he said it was a not-for-profit I was working for, and the executive officer, or whatever the boss was called, said, right, he didn't call me boy, he said, right, Andrew, I'd like you to come to a meeting with me at the Lloyd's building. And I thought, I was about 22 years old, and I thought, I'm being proper businessy man now. So I wore my best pair of trousers. I didn't have a smart coat, so I wore an army jacket, which in retrospect, as we walked up to the Lloyd's building, probably looked like I had this guy on as my hostage. But he was very smart, wonderful man. I'm still friends with him now. Very, very smart, very sort of proper gentleman. But I thought, no, I'll keep my cool. I'll act like I own it. I'll be relaxed and just think, no, this is fine. And it was all fine until we walked in to the main lobby, and we were going up really high. I can't remember how high, 12th floor, something really high up in the Lloyd's building. And most people know what the Lloyd's building looks like. And they might be aware that all the pipes are on the outside. It's like a famous architectural thing with the Lloyd's building in London. What I didn't know until I stepped into the lift is that the lifts are also on the outside. So I went from calm and collected. When somebody pressed the button and the lift shot up, I squealed like a cartoon character and gripped death grip on the rail on the side, trying not to look out as I saw London gradually disappearing below me. And I thought in that moment, I'm probably not going to do very well at acting like a serious person if the universe is going to reveal my silliness at every opportunity. The meeting went all right, apart from they had a lot of Danish pastries, and I was very hungry. And that's the day I learned that it's one of the hardest pastries to eat if you're trying to be clean on a big, huge white desk with lots of people you've never met before and wearing a white shirt. So there's two life lessons for everyone. If you go in the Lloyd's building, the lifts are made of glass, and if you're prepared for that, you can just shut your eyes or wear dark sunglasses or something. And if you're offered Danish pastries at a meeting where you don't know anyone, I'd advise politely demurring the offer and sticking with something sensible like not eating.
Sounds about right. I'm not sure about the lift. I've only ever been on a lift on the outside of a building, and I must admit, I was just looking at the door. I didn't attempt to look elsewhere. I'm not necessarily the best person for heights. I can cope with them, but heights, and it's like if you walk. Have you ever walked on glass platforms?
No, I can force myself. I don't know if I've got a fear of heights or just a memory having fallen from height a few times.
Okay.
Which is a story for another time. But my body will always reveal the caveman fear in some way, whether it's a squeal or my legs my knees knocking together, or just this kind of death grip on anything that's near me, which has been unfortunate in the past because my wife's quite a lot shorter than I am. She doesn't add that much stability to me when I grab hold of her.
Poor wife. Well, that was that's a good introduction to business. I'm glad you're still a friend with the gentleman,
Oh yes.
because otherwise that could have been a bit of an interesting one. What was his reaction, actually? I'm intrigued.
I'd say stoic. It was he was well, still is a lovely man, and he was one of those people that we're fortunate enough to meet in life sometimes, who's just very nurturing and very sort of understanding and very keen to know about everyone he speaks to. And it was really interesting. When I first started working for him, I was initially an employee, and I got made, this is going to sound so like it was 100 years ago, I was made redundant on a Thursday from a job I had. And on the Friday, I got a phone call from somebody I knew who said, "Oh, I know someone in London who's looking for an Andrew, you're looking for someone like you. I recommend popping along to see them." And I was like, "Oh, okay, whatever," because I was very young. And I went into the job interview, and the job interview was about, I'd say, I'd be surprised if it was 5 minutes long. It was really, really brief. And this guy, I'll name him, his name's David Gamble. I've got a lot of respect for him. He said, "Right, that's the interview, so shall we pop out for a spot of lunch?" And I will never turn down food, ever. I'm happy to be the first at a buffet. You know, there's always someone who like breaks the seal and makes it okay for everyone else to go up. Happy to be that man. That's a role in life I've chosen and I enjoy. So he took me out for lunch, and we were out for about an hour and a half, and it was a very relaxed lunch. I avoided messy foods. This is becoming a bit of a theme here, isn't it? And I popped back to Ipswich from London on the train, and I rang my dad and said, "Yeah, it was weird. The interview was really, really short, but then very kindly took me out for lunch." My dad said that was the interview.
Dear.
And I was like, "Oh, okay. Well, I've told some people that, and they think that's quite unfair. They think no, someone should know if they're being assessed or whatever. But I think it makes a lot of sense to me, because how people perform in an interview. I say this as someone who's never really had jobs. How people perform in an interview is a sort of a version of themselves. Yeah, they might rehearse what they're going to say and prepare for it. But if somebody's in a sort of relaxed, slightly more social thing, you're going to see who they really are. And as a leader, you want a team of people who get on well together, rather than being these robots that each perform a specific task. So, yeah, some people have said that's an unusual method, but I quite like it. I think it's nice.
I think it's brilliant because, as you say, we can all put on a mask. And in interviews, I certainly know I did. Yeah, I was always trying to be prim and proper, which is not me at all. So yeah, I think it's a brilliant way of interviewing someone. So did you get the job?
Well, I did, and I was only an actual employee for a relatively short period of time. It was a not for profit who we're still going. They're called AMIC, and after about a year of being there, the band I was in, I'm a musician. The band I was in was starting to tour, playing really glamorous places like Wolverhampton, and nothing against Wolverhampton, just to be really clear. Oh yeah, on a Tuesday for no money and sleeping in a transit van, and I thought that's the life for me. That is, and you can't have a full-time job commuting to London and sleep in Wolverhampton in a van on a Tuesday. It doesn't work.
Doesn't really work, does it?
So I went to my employer, well, David Gamble, and I said, "I really love it here. I really enjoy working here, but I need to go self-employed. I need to go freelance. But I'd really like to retain you as a client." And he just said, "Yeah, sure." I, his son was a professional musician, which I think that might have helped. That might have
Yeah,
made
I
him
think so.
more
Yeah.
sympathetic. But I was with them, that they were a client for about 11 or 12 years. So really long time. And I still think very fondly of them now, and still friends with some of them now.
It sounds like it. So what do you do, or what did you do?
I've always done the same thing, and it's taken me until very recently, and speaking to a very clever coach, a guy called Tom Jepson, to realize what I actually do. Because there are lots of labels. I can give you the sort of things that would be tags on LinkedIn, or would be services on LinkedIn. But the reality is, what I actually do is enjoy helping people. That's what it all boils down to. And my specialism that I've gathered over the last 30 years is helping people become more visible. So we used to call that SEO, but in reality, that's just one of the ways of doing it. But what I really like is listening to people, especially people who are business owners, and just finding out how we can raise their visibility, how we can help them. Because I think a lot of business owners still fall into the trap of harking back to being a child and being told to stop showing off.
Mm-hmm.
And the problem with not showing off is that you'll remain invisible.
Mm-hmm.
The skill is showing off in a way that's not abrasive or unpleasant, I guess. And there's plenty of ways to do that. Although for some people, I never want to say any one thing is right or wrong, because it's such a broad spectrum of humanity. So some people being unpleasant might work for them. But on the whole, I help the nice people. I help the people who have a real fire burning in them that they're perhaps a little shy about sharing. And recently, that's been helping people develop YouTube channels. Sometimes it's writing a lot of content. So I wrote 2 gripping articles about driveway surfacing last night, which I don't think are going to win any awards, and I don't think they're going to get republished in the Times or anything. But that will help, because the client who lays driveways, when people search in AI or search on Google or whatever search engine, they'll be much more likely to find this article I wrote for that client. So it's a broad range of things. I'm starting to encourage people into public speaking and developing their presentation skills. And that's one of the areas that gives me the most joy. I've been a member of Toastmasters for many years, which is it's a not-for-profit speaking organizer. Well, it's sort of speaking, confidence and communication, I guess, really. And one of the things I really love about that is Toastmasters clubs, we help each other out. It's all very nurturing. And we see people come and join our club. I'll give them a shout out. Ipswich Electrifiers, we're called. And people come in as a guest, and they're very shy. And when they're given the opportunity to speak, even just to say their name, they'll just politely say, "No, thank you." And we just move on. We're fine. There's no sort of cajoling. There's no, "Come on, you can," because everyone has moments of shyness. Everyone's been in situations, and if someone tries to cajole you like that, you're either going to run out the door or just smile politely and never go back. But we see people go from being so unsure and so lacking confidence in their voice that they won't speak, to winning awards for speaking. And sometimes that takes a surprisingly short period of time. I've seen people within 3 months confidently get up and give speeches, and it fascinates me that it's all walks of life kind of benefit from this bit of assistance, this bit of support. So that was a very long-winded answer. So I should have just said fun stuff. What do you do? Fun stuff. There you go. That's it. Fun stuff.
But I think life is too serious at times.
Mm.
And yes, walking into Toastmasters and having to talk, knowing that the people there are probably used to talking, can be a bit challenging. But then again, if you don't challenge yourself, you're never going to find out what you're capable of.
I heard a lovely thing last night. I was listening to a podcast, and it's kind of a coaching cliche to say the magic happens outside your comfort zone, but that can be a difficult place to be. And I've certainly led myself down some very awkward alleyways by pushing myself out of my comfort zone over the year. I heard a nicer way of talking about it. David Bowie said, with creativity, you should be out of your depth, but only just. So if you stretch, if you're in water and you can't feel the bottom, that's good, but you should be able to really strain your toes and still touch the bottom where you are. And I think that's a nicer margin than encouraging people just to, things outside your comfort zone. Well, running around the streets naked, that's outside my comfort zone. Doesn't mean I'm going to do it, but making the thing for me recently is talking with authority about history, which I've been making lots of videos about Vikings, and it's because it's fun. And it is slightly out of my comfort zone because I left school without any GCSEs. So I have this thing where I'm worried that people are constantly going to point out I'm wrong. But I've kind of realized that that's okay. That's
Mm.
absolutely fine. And if you do push yourself just that little bit out of depth, it's like planting seeds. You never know what's going to come back from it. So my Viking videos, and this is not a humble brag, I'm just giving you the data. They've been viewed. Well, one of them's been viewed 1.6 million times in the last 10 days, and it started to bring opportunities to me, opportunities I couldn't have planned, and opportunities that I couldn't have expected. So I was on radio earlier today talking about one of the videos, and that came from being just that little bit, my toes only just being able to touch the ground, but not in the middle of the English Channel. Yeah, not like in raging seas. Just pushing just a little bit. So I think that I quite like that. Thank you, David Bowie, and for the music. That was all right as well.
What kind of music do you play or did play?
I still play. I play in 3 bands at the moment. I play in one called These Are End Times, which plays. We always describe it as miserable post rock. It's instrumental music. Imagine the sort of music if a soundtrack to a film was made using guitars instead of orchestras. It's kind of like that. I also play in a couple of other bands. I play bass and guitar, but I also make music by myself, which is usually electronic music because it's much easier to book gigs and find recording time if it's just you. My main band has 7 people in it, and one of them lives in Sweden, so it's a bit more challenging. But listening wise, I like a lot of music, and I really love the fact that music isn't as tribal as it used to be. So when I was growing up, the people who like metal only like metal, the people who like country music only like country music. But everything's just sort of blended together now, and
Mm.
it means that we can all, everyone enjoys a far broader range of music. What sort of music do you like, Karen?
Chinese.
Chinese.
Yeah, I
Oh,
adore
wow.
Chinese music. I adore their singing, even though I can't understand it very well still, although I'm supposed to be learning Chinese.
Wow, that's a
I just
difficult one.
adore it. It's something about it, whether it's something that comes from a past life or something like that. But as soon as I heard it, it was like I felt as though I was back home. It was
Wow.
something about it. So yeah, I'm a bit unusual in that.
No music choice is unusual. I had a client who I saw him arrive at the office once at the same time as me, and if people have music really, really loud, really loud in their cars, you can hear it from outside, can't you?
Mm.
And
Mhm.
he was listening to North Korean military music, like
Brilliant.
choral singing, like really loud. And I said, "Wow, what's that?" He said, "That was North Korean military music." I was like, "Didn't even know that was available." He said, "Yeah, it
Yeah,
really sort of fires me up, and I step out the
yeah,
car ready to take on the day."
yeah. Oh, Chinese music does that to me. So yeah,
Excellent. Or like
yeah.
traditional music or modern music or a mix.
Traditional, a mix. Quite often with Chinese music, you'll find you'll have modern and traditional mixed together. But yeah, their film music is phenomenal. It really, really is. You imagine the warriors going out to war, that kind of music that really gets them fired up. I just adore it. I have no idea why though. It's just something about
I
it.
think sometimes it's nice not to question it and just kind of
Yeah.
just roll with it and think, wow, I've
Mm.
discovered another color. There's another color in my, I
Yes.
was going to say
Yes.
life rainbow. That doesn't sound like it's a real thing, does it? But
Ah, it doesn't matter. That's what life is. It's a rainbow, isn't it? We go
mm,
through stages of the rainbow. Sometimes a lovely yellow, and other times a beautiful calm green. So yeah. So yeah. What do you love about life?
surprises. Not too many, not too often, not too big, not too small, but just surprising things that can happen and taking a moment to cherish those things. So I had one surprising thing happened on the way to this recording, Karen. I'm going to try and condense this because it might weave around a bit. So I'll try and make it very, very short. There is a band in Ipswich, started in the early 80s. They're called the Stupids. And they're quite,
That's a good name.
they're quite popular in sort of more sort of punk or what we call hardcore circuit, but very well respected. Play all around the world, very good band. And I made friends with the drummer, who's also the singer. I was in the local paper once, and they came and took the picture, and I stood outside my house, and I forgot that I was still wearing my Crocs. And he sent me a message going, "You can't think you're a cool musician and be in the local paper wearing Crocs," which is a fair point. But anyway, so his band, The Stupids, his name's Tommy. Um, there's this other band, second part of the story, a band in Australia whose name I'm not going to say because it's not very polite, but again, very popular band. And my son, who's 14, has just been getting into this band. He's going through all my hundreds of CDs that I've collected over the years, and he really likes this band. So I was researching them, and I found out they did a split album with the Stupids. And I thought, wow, I'd really like to hear that. Christmas is coming up. That would be an awesome gift to get my child because it's quite difficult to get hold of.
Mm.
And I was in Sainsbury's about half a mile from here when walking in this morning. And despite the fact I've not seen him in person for many years, Tommy from the Stupids walked the other way.
Oh, wow.
And I was wearing like a woolly hat and like a buff and glasses. So I said hello, and he's very polite. He said hello, and then I thought, no, you can't actually see my face. So I took my hat off and whatever, and I said, hello, Tom. He said, oh, Andrew, hello. And I said, I didn't think you recognised me. And I said, can you remember doing a split with this Australian band? He went, yeah. I said, have you got any copies of that left? Because everyone who's in a band, you always have. I always think everyone who's played in bands, their bed is roughly 2 feet higher off the ground than anyone else's, because of all the unsold albums and CDs and stuff from over the years. So he said, oh, I'll have a look when I get home. And just when you asked me what I like about life, that sort of serendipity of that's quite a string of coincidences, really. That if you really dig into it, that's a lot of unusual things. Me knowing him, me being born around here, playing in bands, having mutual friends. I was sent the album from an Australian band years ago through their record label because I used to publish a music magazine, which I did for many years. So lots and lots and lots of coincidences, all adding up to something that's fun and cool. That's what I like.
Yeah, it sounds like it. I can think of many times when things just occurred because I'd put out that, I suppose, the request.
Mm.
And just so many things fell into place. And even yesterday was an interesting one because there was a lady who is a therapist and she struggled to describe what she did.
Mm-hmm. Common
Where I'm
issue, yeah.
very clear and precise. And by sheer coincidence, the gentleman that was sharing the networking table was very much involved in the kind of things I talk about, which is spirituality and getting to know yourself and such. And he was sitting there listening to the woman, and he turned to me and said, well, what do you think? And it was fascinating to see the difference between ourselves, but it highlighted for me the impact of the fact she didn't know what she was talking about.
Mm.
And was able to explain it clearly because we kept asking her questions. And yet I was standing there telling everyone precisely what I did. But it was almost as if I'd already requested, I need to get people to appreciate more what I do.
Mm.
And there's somebody sitting there telling everyone what she did, and not a single person understood. It's a random thing, but it was so clear and precise. And the actual gentleman turned around and said afterwards, it was interesting to see the contrast.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, because sometimes you can go to meetings and there's loads of therapists there and they're all talking about the different things. But for me, I suppose it was confirmation that I knew what I was talking about. And sometimes we just need that, don't we?
It's a nice thing to get. So I spoke to this guy Tom Jepson about it because I was flailing a bit. A large part of the technical side of my job has sort of died off. The demand for it has
Mm.
kind of disappeared in just within the last 6 months, and the whole digital marketing industry is really struggling at the moment. But I just needed to speak to somebody and sort of go, well, what is it? Why do I do that? Why do I enjoy that? And it's really simple. But yeah, getting that clarity is really
Mm.
important. The amount of people I see stand up at networking events, and the first thing they say is their name, which I always think
Mhm.
there's a better approach than starting with your name. Then they tell the room how long they've been doing something. I think there's two really harsh filters when you stand up to do your 60 seconds or whatever at networking. You've got to pass the filter of people thinking, so what? And no one does. Well, there might be some horrors, hot rotters in there, but no one actually thinks that. And then people also think, well, what's in it for me? So if I stood up and say, I'm Andrew Laws, I've been doing marketing for 25, 30 years, there's nothing in that for anyone. Whereas I think if you stand up and offer something to the room, it could be something of yourself, or just offer something, just put something of yourself into the room. I think people warm to that and remember that a lot better.
Yeah, my toolkit is creating quite a bit of interest. Sloth or beaver, certainly. So, what's that kind of thing? So, yeah, that certainly works.
It's so brilliant because it's not two animals I've seen mentioned in the same breath before. I think the old rabbit and hare's a bit overdone now. That's been knocking around a while, but the the sloth or the bear, just that's wonderful and brilliant illustrations as well. What a fantastic artist Sean is. Sean
Yeah,
Pritchard, isn't it?
yes, definitely. Yeah, he's done a brilliant job for me. I'm so, so grateful. And he was actually the one that introduced us.
He
So, I'm
was
very
indeed.
grateful to him for that.
Another serendipitous, pleasant, fun thing.
Yes, definitely. So, what's the most fun thing you've done?
Whatever.
Whenever. You tell us.
I
You
think
tell us.
recently making a video about Viking poo. A video. The first line of the video is Vikings had very itchy bums, and that's the most fun. If I think back to myself, the 22-year-old self who was just starting a business, said to him, "One day you're going to have to talk to people about this video you made about Vikings with itchy bums." The younger me would have thought, why on earth would you put that out into the world? That's a terrible thing. People think you're weird. I'm getting on for my 50s now. Well, 50 very soon, and that ship sailed. People are going to think I'm weird. That's fine. They'll either like that fact, or we're probably not going to be best friends, and that's all right.
So now I'm intrigued. Why did Vikings have itchy bums?
1972, they were building a new Lloyd's Bank in York, and they found a 20 centimeter long, 5 centimeter wide Viking poo. And there's a job within archaeology. I think it's within archaeology, and I've got to be concentrate when I say it. Scatiopathologist. So someone who specializes in digging around old poos. They might no interest in fresh ones, so don't send any in. But they go through it and they look at diet and things like that. And what they found in this big Viking poo is the standard things like, yeah, they ate a lot of oats, didn't eat much other vegetable matter, which is probably why they were so bunged up. But they found lots and lots, thousands of more worm eggs and whipworm, I think is the other one. And I just sort of extrapolated that out and thought, well, so Vikings running around in battle had itchy bums. That's that was basically the only premise for the video, was sharing that bit of knowledge. And what's really interesting is I put out a lot of content. I do a music podcast called Beat Motel, and we tend to get quite a lot of unpleasant comments and people telling us that we're idiots. We reply to those and agree. Like, if you're going to try and be mean, they're like, idiots like you shouldn't have a podcast. I just reply and go, I know, but here we are.
Well, that's part of it, isn't it? It's being able to be confident enough to turn around and say to somebody, so what?
But the Viking poop video, people are sticking up for me. If anything, no one's being unpleasant at all. And I was like,
Well,
all
it's
these
certainly,
years, I'm trying to figure out what my thing is. It's Viking poo, apparently.
well, it's certainly an interesting topic, if nothing else.
Yeah, there's a whole series planned. I'm going to end up that Viking poo guy. I see myself on Graham Norton or something. No, Andrew Law specializes in Viking poo. Oh man. When I was on air on the radio this morning, I apologized to my mum. I was like, "Mum, if you're listening to this, sorry about me being on the radio talking about poo."
Do you run a business amplifier community? What's that?
I do indeed. It's a community I started because I realized that I speak to a lot of people at networking, and I'm just generally quite chatty. And there's an awful lot of people who are starting in business or are in business and have reached a sort of ceiling for their growth or their knowledge and are unsure what the next step is. So traditionally, the next step, if you're struggling with growing your business or using technology to make your business easier to run, is to go to an agency or a consultant. And I speak to a lot of people who aren't quite ready for that step, either financially or they've still got other things they need to figure out about their business. So relatively often somebody will come to me wanting some marketing help. And I say, yeah, great, let's talk. What's your unique selling point? What makes you really stand out? And they say, huh? What? And then they'll say, I've been an accountant for 25 years or something. So I've created a bunch of tools that initially I was going to sell. I was going to sort of have a subscription model. But I've created a lot of tools and put them in a business community. It's on the School platform, which is School with a K. And you can sign up for free and get peer-to-peer support, so support from other business owners. You can use all the tools that I've been using with clients for years for free. I've just put them all up there. You can get latest insights on tech news and other things like that. And generally, I've made it just to be a pleasant place for business owners to be. We do have opportunities to socialize, but networking is great. But outside of that, being a business owner can be quite isolating.
Mm-hmm.
So I just wanted to create a community where everyone can have fun and be nice to each other, basically.
That does help if people are nice to each other and can have fun at the same time. You shared with me a project that you're doing that's going to be a book.
That's right, yeah. The trust engine. So this is my fun analogy that businesses run on trust. So it made me think, well, if your business runs on trust, what's the fuel? What's the maintenance routine? What makes the engine go faster or slower? It extrapolates out and out and out and out. But I just also thought it would be quite a good, fun thing because I do quite a lot of public speaking and I tend to talk on a lot of the subjects that other people do. Let's just put it that way. So I spoke yesterday about YouTube, how to develop your YouTube channel. And I wanted something that was a bit different. So I'm doing a lot of research at the moment into trust and relationships. And it came about partly through a friend of mine who works in learning at L&D, is that learning and development at corporate level? And he also works for the Open University. And he said there's a real problem in large businesses where people get promoted or apply for a position at a higher level where they start to work with a team of people. They start to look after people. But they don't understand how to develop trust with those people. So he said if I could write a book, here's the challenge. I've got to write the book and he's going to get me in front of people to talk about it, which I think sounds like a lot of fun.
Sure does. And I know all about trust because that's something I talk about a lot in relationships. So, yes.
There's a lot of crossover. Well, it's all crossover. That this notion that business and your life are two completely separate things is bizarre to me. Like the work-life balance. Can I just have a nice life? And work being pleasant is a part of that.
Precisely. Yeah.
I think the work-life balance thing assumes that your work is absolutely horrible and you want to get far away from it. Well, that might just be my own reading of it.
My enjoyment of my work is very much part of my life because I get to talk to some wonderful people.
Likewise.
And you're one of them.
Oh, thank you, Karen. Very kind.
Well, we're running out of time, and I know Gareth Wax, who editors these, will be saying to me, Karen, time out.
I didn't know Gareth edited them. I know Gareth Wax.
Yeah, he edits these videos for me. So I'm going to have to stop you there, but I thoroughly enjoyed this. It's just great to have a conversation that involves just being relaxed and enjoying life. So thank you very much, Andrew.
And thank you very much for inviting me. I very much enjoyed this.
Good, thank you.